The older you get, the less SpongeBob SquarePants feels like a comedy, and honestly, that realization is kind of terrifying because when we were kids, SpongeBob felt completely chaotic. A yellow sponge laughing 24/7, flipping burgers, chasing jellyfish, and somehow being excited about literally everything. It felt random, stupid, loud, fun, but then you grow up, and suddenly you realize something that feels almost illegal to admit. Squidward was never the villain. He was just an adult, and that changes the entire show, because as a kid, Squidward feels like the boring character, the guy who hates fun, the guy who complains too much, the guy who ruins the vibe. But as an adult, you suddenly understand him way too well. He works a job he hates. He feels stuck in routine. Nobody takes him seriously. He's constantly exhausted by noise, people, and pretending to care. And the scariest part, an entire generation looked at this emotionally drained octopus and said, literally me. And that's the moment SpongeBob stops feeling like a kid's cartoon, because if you strip away all the absurdity, Bikini Bottom starts looking less like a cartoon world and more like emotional purgatory, a place where everybody is trapped in their own version of unhappiness. Mr. Krabs is trapped by money. Plankton is trapped by obsession. Sandy is trapped by isolation. Squidward is trapped by routine. And maybe the most disturbing one of all is SpongeBob himself, because the older you get, the less healthy his positivity starts to feel. Seriously, imagine meeting someone like SpongeBob in real life. He works nonstop, gets exploited every day, deals with terrible customers, never gets treated seriously, and somehow, he still smiles like nothing is wrong. At first it looks inspiring, but eventually, it starts feeling unsettling because it no longer feels like happiness. It feels like emotional programming, like SpongeBob is so terrified of losing his positivity that he no longer allows himself to feel anything else. And honestly, modern culture rewards people exactly like that. Stay positive, never complain, smile more, good vibes only, as if exhaustion is weakness, as if burnout is just a mindset problem. And maybe that's why SpongeBob feels darker as an adult, because a lot of people live exactly like this now. Smiling while emotionally exhausted, joking while completely numb inside, continuing to work even after mentally breaking down, and the worst part, society usually rewards those people the most. The people who never complain, the people who stay productive, the people who remain convenient. And that's exactly why Squidward suddenly becomes terrifyingly relatable, because he feels like the only character who realizes something is deeply wrong. And once you notice that, the entire show changes, because suddenly you realize nobody in Bikini Bottom actually looks happy, not even SpongeBob. And the older you get, the more uncomfortable that realization becomes, because every character feels trapped in the same endless loop. The same job, the same people, the same noise, the same day repeating forever. And the scariest part, nothing ever changes. Squidward never escapes. Plankton never wins. Mr. Krabs never becomes fulfilled. Even SpongeBob, the character who supposedly loves his life, feels trapped inside an endless cycle of productivity and forced happiness. And maybe that's the real horror of SpongeBob SquarePants, not the creepy theories, not the strange animation, not the monsters, but the terrifying feeling that Bikini Bottom resembles adult life way more than we want to admit. Because one of the biggest fears of adulthood isn't failure, it's routine, the fear of waking up one day and realizing your entire life became repetition. And the most terrifying part? Most people never even notice when it happens. That's why Squidward feels so painfully human. He isn't lazy, he isn't evil, He isn't bitter for no reason. He feels like someone who once genuinely dreamed about a different life and slowly accepted less. And honestly, that's way scarier than any horror movie, because almost every adult understands that feeling, that moment when you suddenly realize you didn't become the person you imagined as a kid. And maybe that's why adults rewatch SpongeBob differently now. Kids see chaos. Adults see burnout, routine, emotional exhaustion, fake positivity, and lost dreams. And the older you get, the less Bikini Bottom feels funny, and the more it starts feeling like a strangely accurate reflection of adulthood itself. There's something deeply depressing about that. As kids, we laughed at Squidward because we thought he simply didn't know how to have fun. But as adults, we realize he was the only character aware of how emotionally trapped everyone really was. And maybe that's the hidden horror of SpongeBob SquarePants. Not that it was secretly dark, but that it accidentally became one of the most accurate portrayals of emotional burnout ever made. And the most depressing part, as kids, we wanted to become SpongeBob, but most people, without even realizing it, slowly become Squidward.